Hi, my name's Madison. Most of you know me. I used to work in elementary. I miss it dearly. But now I work in middle school. I'm a choir director and drama teacher. And you're like, why in the world are you here? You're not one of us, right? So last year I actually was in elementary, and then over the summer I went on this trip to South Korea. And one of the stipulations with the trip is I had to create a lesson plan. Well, I was in elementary at the time, so I created an elementary plan. Then plan switched and I became a middle school choir director, and so I didn't need this anymore. So I'm hoping that every single one of you may be able to get a little something out of this presentation today. So I am a Fulbright Hayes Scholar, and if you don't know what that is, Fulbright is a scholarship that you can receive. So I'm currently enrolled in a master's program in education administration, and I go to Eastern New Mexico University, go Hounds. Sorry, UNM Lobos, but don't mean to offend. Hounds are better, just saying. Anyway, it awards grants to teachers throughout the United States, and specifically this one was looking for teachers and master's students. So I want to share this with you because if you go to Fulbright Hayes' program, to their website, you can actually find a scholarship program like this for just being a teacher. You don't have to be enrolled in a master's program. So I had I think it was roughly like $40,000 trip to Korea, completely paid for by the US government. So I highly recommend, if you want to travel outside of the country and go for free, Fulbright is the way to go. And once you're in a Fulbright program, you are more likely to go into another Fulbright later on if you reapply. So now that I've been in one, now I can go and apply for another Fulbright and have a higher chance of getting in. And it's a way that you can actually go without students. So there were 11 of us that went on the trip, and 2 of them were university professors. All the rest of us were New Mexico K-12 educators. And out of 60 applicants, I was one of the ones that went on the 11. So it was really, really cool. This was my group, my besties, my homies, that we traveled around for a month. We went all over Korea. So this was our little banner that we took around. This is the National History Museum in Seoul, South Korea. You can see the actual North Tower sitting right back there. This was our university, Huff's, which I brought a ton of souvenirs if you want to come and take a look at any point. But Hankook University of Foreign Studies was the school that hosted us. It was kind of like a foreign exchange program. So I went to school and I taught while I was in South Korea. So I created this lesson from what I know and what I learned while I was in Korea. So this is actually the Blue House. So this is the president's house in South Korea. And I got to visit there. You can only visit like once every 5 years, I think, or 4 years, when he's not there, when he's not president. So standards and objectives, of course, have to talk about this. It is very much cultural, right? It's very much learning about a different culture, learning how they do things over there in comparison to the United States. So, like I said, I traveled over to Incheon, which is this little airport here. It was a lovely, brisk 14.5-hour flight across the sea. Yeah, and there was no shortcut. So it was a lovely 14-hour flight that I could not sleep on to save my life, but it was beautiful. So Incheon is right around here where this airplane is. It's a little island, so it was really, really odd, because in New Mexico we land in the middle of dirt, and over there you landed in the middle of the ocean. So, and then you had to take this bridge all the way over to Seoul. So, and it was about a 2-hour bus ride to get from Incheon to our hotel in Seoul. And we went to most of these places. We went to Jeonju. There's another one here in the middle called Jeonju. Very confusing. Jeju Island down here, and then Gyeongju, and we went to Busan, which was a really good trip, all in the matter of a month. So I want to show you this tourism video. So when I went to Tufts University to introduce us to South Korea. They were like, hey, this is one of our tourism videos. We show it to everybody that comes to South Korea. So now I thought I'd share it with you. And hopefully it's not too loud.
전동 같은 앞다리, 동화 같은 뒷발로, 양기 찌우지고 새낙 같은 발톱으로 잔디뿌리 왕모래를 촤르르르 그치며 주홍잎도 버리고 허리랑 하는 소리 하나리 무너지고 땅이 툭 꺼진한 듯 차례 정신없이 먹으로 움츠리고 가만히 엎젖었다. 멍 내려온다, 봄이 내려온다, 송이 깊은 곳로 한진생이 내려온다. 누이 머리를 흔들며 양귀 쭉 찢어지고 몸은 얼쑥덜쑥 뿌리는 잔뜩. 멍 내려온다, 봄이 내려온다, 송이 깊은 곳로 한진생이 내려온다. 누이 머리를 흔들며 양귀 쭉 찢어지고 몸은 얼쑥덜쑥 뿌리는 잔뜩. 멍 내려온다, 봄이 내려온다.
So that was a really fun video. The first minute that you walk into South Korea, we went to the university, and then this is what we saw, and we're like, oh, cool. But if you ever decide to share this lesson with your students, this could be something really fun for them to get invested in, right? And one of the really cool things about this video is you constantly see different places around South Korea. So as I mentioned, the Blue House, that has a giant mountain in the back. And there's actually, when you're there, there's like a little temple sitting right up there. And it's really cool to see. We also see some of the traditional dress of not current South Koreans, but back in time, in the Joseon Dynasty, the Three Kings Dynasty, etc., so on and so forth. We see some standard guard outfits that they would have worn back in the Shilla Dynasty, Joseon Dynasty, all of those things. So you can even bring history into your lesson, yeah? Continuing forward. Oh, okay, I don't want you to replay. I'm good. I've seen this so many times. Okay? So one of the things that I was going to do if I had continued in elementary is I really love language. Like, that is one of my favorite things. I'm a vocal person, so we sing in a bunch of different languages all the time. So in Korea, their written language is Hangul. And it was created by King Sejong. So they actually, whenever they kind of separated from China, they decided, hey, we need to make our own language. And we need to have it written because the Chinese characters just don't fit. So King Sejong was like, I've got an idea. I'll make a new alphabet. So he created a 28-letter alphabet. Now it's condensed down to 24, if I remember correctly. And he created it during the Joseon Dynasty. And his whole purpose was to bring written language to the poorer people. It was that goal, because obviously the higher ups were educated. So he wanted to help the basic people learn to read and write. So if you're interested in Hangul, it's very easy to learn. Trust me, I learned it in the matter of a month. And I could speak full-blown sentences with people. They have a lot of vowels over here, complex vowels, and then our consonants. And if you're interested in learning it, don't go with Duolingo. Duolingo sucks, no offense, with the Korean language. There are two sources that I would like to show to you. Lingodeer is a really good source to teach you the accurate pronunciation of the Hangul written language. But there is also this ixi.org. So it is a fully Korean online university, 100% free, to teach you the basics of Hangul. So if you want to learn how to pronounce the Korean language, this is a really good source for you. The first full beginner lesson just goes through vowels and consonants. That's it. And then the second one goes into like words that you need to know. Yeah? So for example, if we go back to this GK sound, so instead of saying hanggu, it's hangku. So it's a GK combination sound. They don't really have just G by itself. But then if you want to pronounce it more harshly, you go k. So hangku, if you wanted to say that, for example. And then our P and our B sounds. So how many of you have had beef bulgogi? Oh man, I was hoping for more hands. It's not beef bulgogi, but it's beef bulgogi. That is the accurate pronunciation, which I learned, and that was really insane for me. So because I love language so much, I wanted to share some words with you that I used while I was walking around in Korea. How many of you can guess what this word says? You had the vowels right there, you're fine, right? Woo! 안녕하세요. Yes, that is correct. 안녕. 하세요. Good job. So that means hello and goodbye. It's like aloha. It's wonderful. And if you're just hanging out with friends, all you can do is 안녕, and then you're good. Anyone want to guess what this one is? It is thank you. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Here's those vowels again if you want to see. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect in Korean. It's 감사합니다. 감사합니다. And that means thank you. The next one, this first one is 네. Ne, N-E, ne. And then this next one means that's right. 맞아요. So 네 맞아요 means yes. That means yes, that's right. So if someone gets your order correct in Korean, you go 네 맞아요, 감사합니다. And you have to do the head bow. It's very important you do a head bow. The next one, 주세요. So C-H-U-S-A-Y-O. 주세요. Yeah, good job. And that's please give me. So 물 is water. So 물 주세요. Please give me water, etc. 소다 주세요. 불고기 주세요, etc. So on and so forth. The next word, 안녕. 안녕. Very good. Yeah. So you'll see that that's a common thing. 하세요. 주세요. 네 맞아요. 아니요. Those are common endings. And then 니다 is also a very common ending. So that's like the simplest way to learn Korean. So I know everybody probably was very interested in seeing some pictures. So I wanted to share with you, this is what I would have shared with my kids if I was still in elementary. This is, oh my gosh, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Gyeongbok Palace. Brain took a minute. Gyeongbok Palace. So this is the oldest living temple / kingdom in Korea. And my squad, of course. This is common modern day Seoul. And what's really cool about this, and you can talk to your kids about this, they all read along the river. So all of these people down here, you see them, they're reading. So it is a completely quiet, you're not allowed to speak, you're only there to sit and read.
Can they be reading on their phones or consider it paper books?
Everybody has paper books. That's the big thing. You're not allowed to have any sort of electronics, mainly because it's water, and water and electronics apparently don't mix. But they have, if you don't have any books, all along this wall over here, they have a full library chock full of books. And they have this all over the place in Korea, which I think was a super amazing idea, because they would just leave everything there. So at the night, you could see all of these books just sitting there, and everybody would leave them alone. And one of the weird culture shocks when I came back here was in Korea, you could leave your phone, your wallet, your keys, everything on your table, go to the restroom, leave for a couple minutes, maybe powder your nose a little bit, come back, your stuff would stay exactly where it was. No one would touch it. And so when I came back, it was funny, Kristen Hutchinson and I went to Costco. I left all my stuff in the cart and I wandered off and she was like, no, what are you doing? You can't do that. And I was like, oh, sorry. Okay, right? It was so weird coming back because everybody is so trustworthy there. Some more pictures. This is also part of the Gyeongbuk Palace. This was the Knight's Fortress. So if they ever got invaded, they would cross over this bridge, enter where all of the guards were. They'd have this complete moat surrounding it, and they were able to lift the gate and secure the emperor, empress, whomever they needed to protect. This was part of Jeju. So they have a bunch of cliffs over there, and it's beautiful. You can also do some wakeboarding, so you see some people down here that are going wakeboarding. And I was so terrified to fly off because they go like 40 kilometers, which is like 60 here, like 50, 60. There's also the Stone Grandpa, which is a big sign of luck. Don't touch the nose unless you want to be pregnant. That was my guide from my tour, was don't touch the nose unless you want to be pregnant. Oh, and then touch the hands if you want money. So I was, I'm a teacher in the United States, please. Which, I mean, I got the whole trip paid for, so I think that counts. Another cool thing in Jeju were there were a bunch of caves, which they actually called dragon tunnels because they believed back in the day there were dragons that lived just in the caves. And then this is one of the tallest waterfalls on Jeju Island, which if any of you have me on Facebook, you know that that's in my background. Okay, so Korea was not just about the sights. The food was amazing as well. I will say that. So I wanted to show you some pictures. Again, if I was with my kids, I would sit there and I'd show them all this. I actually made these two dishes here, the bibimbap and then the tteokbokki. So I was thinking if I had elementary kids, I would bring this in as a treat for them. But like this was a pancake ice cream sandwich that cost $2 in the United States. This cost like 30 cents. This whole hot pot, it's called shabu shabu, which is, you have your meat, your veggies, eggs, all of that stuff, and you cook it just like you would, if you've ever had Korean barbecue, it's kind of the same thing, but it's in a pot. This whole meal cost me $15 US. So, just saying. This is coffee. This is a strawberry coffee that we had. And this was $1.25 for a large coffee. And then this is halabong ice cream. So it's made of oranges, and it's the only orange allowed to be produced on Jeju Island. So you can only get this halabong ice cream and the halabong itself in Seoul or on Jeju, which it was really good. Very, very tart, but very good. So another thing I would share is K-pop. How many of you have heard of K-pop? Okay, it's a big deal over there. I got introduced to K-pop because I was like, what in the world is that? And my friend that was with me, her name's Emily, she was like, no, you have to listen to K-pop. You have to do K-dramas if you're gonna be in Korea. And I'm like, okay. So I got kind of into K-pop. This is Stray Kids, Blackpink, and then BTS. If you want to show those to your kids too, I highly recommend their music over other K-pop artists. Tying it to also history, again, we have the women divers called Haneo, which there are only 1,000 left in the world, and they are only on Jeju Island. That is it. They are not allowed to be anywhere else. So one of the really cool things about this picture that I think is underrated, Haneo don't like to take pictures. They don't like to be involved in pictures. They don't want you to ever take a picture. Actually, before we had walked out to this like pier area, there's a sign that says, do not take pictures of Haneo, which I may have broken that rule because I can't read Korean all that well. But then my professor, Dr. Wu, had talked to the Haneo in Korean and asked, like, pretty, please, like, can we take a picture with you? And she was like, sure, I guess, but I'm very, very busy. So we had a quick, and then she was gone on her little moped. But it's really cool because they actually can hold their breath quite long, 3 to 5 minutes. I don't know anybody else who can breathe for not breathe for 3 to 5 minutes. So they don't use any sort of snorkel. All they use is their face. That's it. They don't have like a snorkel like you go undersea diving. They don't have an oxygen tank, nothing like that. They just go out with a face shield and their wetsuit, and that's it. But the reason that most of them don't exist anymore is because it's a super dangerous job. But one of the cool facts too was they can predict weather better than the weather forecast, which was really cool. So one of the things with Korea that we also went to was a Buddhist temple. We did a 15-mile one-way hike up a mountain in the rain, which was just a load of fun. But the sights were impeccable, and we actually got to meet a monk, and we were able to make some Buddhist beads that are for anger. So if you're ever sitting in a staff meeting and listening to some of your colleagues and you're like, oh, right? Sometimes in middle school I'm sitting here like this. Oh, yeah, okay, great. It is actually meant to be like bringing of calm to you. That's the whole purpose of the beads. And I wasn't allowed to take pictures inside the temple, but this was the outside. Because like no cellular devices, no smartwatches, nothing is allowed in the temple, and we were there all day. And then we had a 15-mile hike back down the mountain to then catch a taxi. But this one here is a different one. This one's, obviously we can see that there's some city cars and stuff like that. So this one is smack dab in the middle of Seoul. There are a bunch of really tall skyscrapers, but then in the middle of it, there's just this Buddhist temple. And the banners actually represent Buddha's birthday. So while we were there, Buddha was celebrating his birthday, which was really cool. How many of you like matcha? Matcha? This is a matcha field that I got to wander through. And those are all matcha leaves, as far as the eye can see. All matcha leaves. Their matcha, it was amazing. Like if you think the matcha here is amazing, go to Korea. That's all I have to say. Now finally to my lesson. I just wanted to share all that with you because I thought it was cool. So while we were on the bus in Jeju, we had a tour guide named Helen. And she started singing this song. Ariram, ariram, arariyo. And I was like, Helen, what? You're talking to a musician here. What is that? She's like, oh, it's our national song. I don't know. Sing it again. Ariram, ariram, arariyo. Some of you know it. How many of you know this song? Oh, sweet. Yeah. So I didn't know this existed. But it was so cool to sit there and listen to our tour guide while she was thinking of something in English. She hummed. And would go on and on and on. And I knew from that instance that I wanted to do this for my project. So we went to another school in Busan, and I started asking the music teachers there, by the way, they don't have elementary music, really, in Korea, because they think that it's for older kids. So they do 3rd through 12th grade. So kinder through 2nd are not part of their program. But students will sing and play this song in their public education. They do that the entire way through. This is just, again, the standard part of their culture. And it was really interesting to see. So they don't do a whole lot of singing. The only really one that they focus on is this one. They focus majority on instruments. So some things that I was thinking about that you could use this to teach, if you teach dotted rhythm, or whatever you use. The 3/4 time signature, the sway. I was like, oh, I hope I'm not over time. Okay, no, I'm good. The legato, a new language, everything. So this is all of the stuff that I was thinking of using. So for kinder and first, this was kind of my thought process idea. Teaching them the sway movements of this. For my friends that know how to sing the song, can you help me sing while everybody stands? Will you please stand up? Thank you. My middle schoolers won't do that. 1, 2, 3, ready, here we go. Good. Now can you just sway with the beat? 1, 2, 3, ready, here we go. Yeah, excellent. You can have a seat. I know you're probably all tired, so that's why I was trying to get through this as quickly as possible. But what I was thinking, obviously I haven't been able to do this with an elementary group, and so if any of you do it, please let me know. But to have them do the storytelling, right? Kinder is a lot about movement, yes? So the big thing for me was seeing the sway. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, bum, 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 right? So you can have them use scarves, ribbons, any sort of way that you want to have them storytell. I was thinking for me personally, I haven't tried this, again, like I said, but having them get into groups and having them storytell. I got that from an ORF workshop that I may not have attended while I was an elementary teacher. But focusing on that big beat, right? So another thing, I have so much stuff to still share, so I'm gonna kind of fastly go through this, but Taekwondo was also a big thing, so if you want to involve literacy, this book is about Taekwondo and how Taekwondo came to be. There's also the Taekwondo America's Got Talent. We were shown this in Korea, so they were very proud of it. And it's a performance Taekwondo. We actually got to sit through a performance Taekwondo performance. And this is cool because this is like a double-sided like timpani kind of thing. So there's a drum head on this side and then there's a drum head on that side. And it's really, really cool. And then my squad, again. But this is the rubric that I was thinking of using. Can they sway to the beat? Can they move their arms and sing and walk? So could they walk maybe to the smaller beats, but sway their arms to the big beat? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah? Etc. So on and so forth. So the number 2 would be that they can do it some of the time and then unable to keep. For second and third, this was kind of where my brain was going. Again, haven't tried this with, so if you do, please let me know. I was obsessed with the ORF workshop that I went to. I highly recommend if you haven't gone to ORF, go to ORF. I wish that I would have continued with it. But having one group do the kinder aspect of the storytelling and the movement with the scars, with ribbons, etc. Have some students on a non-pitched instrument, shakers, windy sticks, etc., drums. Have another group do the big chords, which I was trying to get Kristen to bring all of this stuff, and she's like, I'm sick, and I'm like, okay, cool. But lastly, you could have a group of small glockenspiels on the melody. And then for 4th and 5th grade, I was planning to do a recorder unit and then a Korean folk song unit, which these are amazing resources that accurately show how to play the song. So I highly recommend those. I'm gonna skip through them for now. If you play it on recorder, so one of the things with Korea, all of their instruments are tuned in F, which is really weird. It was really bizarre to get used to. But I also included it in the key of G because this is more recorder friendly. So if you want to do this on recorders, do it in G. You're gonna have an easier time, I promise. Another thing, this unit could also go across your art, and it can go to literacy, it can go to history, it can go to language, it can go to all of those things, but it can also go to crafting. So while I was in Korea, I picked up a bunch of coloring pages that all have explanations of why they exist. There were like 10 of them, so I picked up 4. There was also this game that I picked up, so you flip the thing, and if it lands on the back side, then you flip again, and then if it lands with like a certain color on a certain thing. Like you have to have like a little spinner on it. I had to have my professor explain all of this because it's all written in Hangul. Another thing that you can do, we made bookmarks while we were there. And this is actually paper that we made while we were there. So we dipped the paper in the water, shook it out, dried it, and then we stained it and made bookmarks out of it. So if you want to bring this to your art teacher and have a little cross-curricular unit, highly recommend. Another thing was we also made postcards, which was a lot of fun. And then I also have, this was part of the paper creation unit thing, or business that we went to. But if you write this postcard out, you fill it out and you send it to the educational place, in 10 years, they'll mail it back to you. So I actually submitted one, so I'm waiting for whenever I turn 35 to get mine back. So extra information for you. I know that that was a lot of like me and everything like that. So if you are really interested in this and you want to experience a little taste of Korea, this Arirang Oriental Market, whew, there was a rubber band. It is so good. If you haven't had it, highly recommend it. All of the food there, I can verify it is authentic. It tastes exactly like Korea. So I highly recommend it if you're interested in maybe eating some kimchi or some bibimbap. I highly recommend that place. This restaurant, and this is over on the east side, so this is over by like Eubank and Indian School. And then this one is actually just right down the road, not too far. It's off of Coors and Montano, and it's called K-Style Kitchen. So they have what is called an adzuma there, which is like abuelita in Spanish. Adzuma is like the grandma, the chef of the house. She works there. She only speaks Korean, so I actually got to practice my Korean. She's like, "Oh, you did such a nice job." Authentic food, highly recommend. But thank you.
I want to thank all of our lesson share people today. Especially for volunteering with such limited time, as we didn't quite know that this day was going to happen until very recently. I also want to thank everybody that took the time to come, because you could have chosen to stay and work in your classrooms or do that. So I appreciate, I mean, we really can't afford, right? But I hope that you found today valuable, and it's always great to get together and see you. I wish we had more of these opportunities. Maybe hopefully someday we will again. Thank you all. Please make sure and grab all of your items. There's no building manager here, so when I close that front door, it locks. I think I have access to get back in, but I'm not sure. So there is a survey that we would like you to do. Is it in their email?
Yeah, it was emailed to 1 o'clock, so if you please fill that out before you leave.
Please do the survey, and then you can enjoy your long weekend.
We'll see you again in January.
Good seeing you.